Donald Trump is starting his presidency with a flurry of executive orders. In this video, I'm going to be going through just a few of the around 78 he has already signed. Some people are saying he's signed over 100. He's already signed 200. Right now, as of right now, his first day in office, he signed 78. I believe he signed more yesterday, and who knows, he'll probably sign even more of them today. So we might get around that 200 number. He probably has about 200 of them ready to go, but he has signed around 78 of them so far. So I'll be going into some of the more important ones, ones that I find important, but I will link down below how you can find the other ones. So we'll just go through and read them, give you my thoughts, and kind of explain, what's going on. So this first one is establishing and implementing the President's Department of Government Efficiency. So this is the DOGE organization that was talked about during the campaign and leading up to his inauguration. So by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. So this is said at like each executive order, so I'm not going to read that every time. But section 1, purpose. The executive order establishes the Department of Government Efficiency to implement the president's DOGE agenda by modernizing federal technology and software to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. Definitions as used in this order. Agency has the meaning to it in section 551 of Title V United States Code, except that such term does not include the executive office of the president or any components thereof. Agency head means the highest ranking official of an agency, such as the secretary, administrator, chairman, or director, unless otherwise specified in this order. DOGE structure, reorganization and renaming of the United States Digital Service. The United States Digital Service is hereby publicly renamed as the United States DOGE Services, USDS, and shall be established in the executive office of the president. Establishment of a temporary organization. There shall be a USDS administrator established in the executive office of the president who shall report to the White House, House Chief of Staff. There is a further established within the USDS. In accordance with the Section 3161 of Title V United States Code, a temporary organization known as the U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization. That's absolutely hilarious. We have an actual organization named DOGE now. The U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization shall be headed by the USDS Administrator and shall be dedicated to the advancing of the President's 18-month DOGE agenda. The U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization shall terminate on July 4th, 2026. The termination of the U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization shall not be interpreted to imply the termination, attenuation, or amendment of any other authority or provision of this order. So DOGE teams, I said DOGE. DOGE teams, the consultation with USDS, each agency head shall establish within their respective agencies a DOGE team of at least 4 employees, which may include special government employees hired or assigned within 30 days of the date of this order. Agency heads shall select the DOGE team members in consultation with the USDS administrator. Each DOGE team will typically include 1 DOGE team lead, 1 engineer, 1 human resources specialist, and 1 attorney. The agency heads shall ensure the DOGE team leads coordinate their work with USDS and advise their respective agency heads to implementing the president's DOGE agenda. So that's actually really interesting. So basically what this establishes is basically each government organization or agency will need to establish a team of DOGE members. And I'm assuming the role of those DOGE members is going to be exactly what the organization is there for, government efficiency. So they're going to be firing people that don't need to be there, updating systems that are out of date, basically just making things run smoother. So that's actually really cool. So modernizing federal technology and software to maximize efficiency and productivity, the USDS administrator shall commence a software modernization initiative to improve the quality and efficiency of government widespread software, network infrastructure, and information technology systems. Among other things, the USDS administrator shall work with the agency heads to promote interoperability between agency and network systems, ensure data integrity, and facilitate responsible data collection and synchronization. So it's basically exactly what I said. They're going to be updating old systems. I mean, there was a report that came out not that long ago that a lot of our nuclear sites were using computers from the 70s. So yeah, we definitely need Doge in there telling people to update stuff. We shouldn't be using things from the 70s when we have access to 2025 technology. Agency heads shall take all necessary steps in coordination with the USDS administrator and the maximum extent consistent with law to ensure USDS has full and prompt access to all unclassified agency records, software systems, and IT systems. USDS shall adhere to rigorous data protection standards. So let's see. The executive order displaces all prior executive orders and regulations insofar as they are subject to direct presidential amendment. That might serve as a barrier to providing USDS access to agency records and systems as described above. So that's about it for this order. So it basically a lot, if not all, of the government agencies and departments will now have a team of Doge members making sure things are running smoothly and people are doing their job efficiently. So definitely a really interesting executive order. I hope that plays out well. We'll likely see a lot of people being fired from some of these government organizations. One of the other orders that I did not include in here is government employees will now be required to return to work. I did a video previously talking about how, what was it? It was like over 70%, over 80% of government employees work from home. And like, that's just not okay. Like, if you work for the government, you should be going into your office and working for the government. You're a public servant. You don't get to just stay at home and work. So let's see. Next executive order I wanted to cover was the Restoring Freedom of Speech and Ending Federal Censorship. So this one was also interesting. By the authority vested in me, I'm not going to read, like I said, I'm not going to read that every time. Section 1, purpose. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution, an amendment essential to the success of our republic, enshrines the right of the American people to speak freely in the public square without government interference. Over the last 4 years, the previous administration trampled free speech rights by censoring American speech on online platforms, often by exerting substantial coercive pressure on third parties, such as social media companies, to moderate, deplatform, or otherwise suppress speech that the federal government did not approve. Under the guise of combating misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, the federal government infringed on the constitutionally protected speech, I don't know why I said it like that, rights of Americans, citizens across the United States in a manner that advanced the government's preferred narrative about significant matters of public debate. Government censorship of speech is intolerable in a free society. Yeah, the government cannot use a third party to censor your speech, yet we did see that over the past 4 years. Section 2, policy. It is the policy of the United States to secure the right of the American people to engage in constitutionally protected speech. B, ensure that no federal government officer, employee, or agent engages in or facilitates any conduct that would unconstitutionally abridge the free speech of any American citizen. Ensure that no taxpayer resources are used to engage in or facilitate any conduct that would unconstitutionally abridge the free speech of any American citizen, and identify and take appropriate action to correct past misconduct by the federal government related to censorship of protected speech. Section 3, ending the censorship of protected speech. No federal department, agency, entity, officer, employee, or agent may act or use the federal resources in a manner contrary to Section 2 of this order. The Attorney General, in consultation with the heads of executive departments and agencies, shall investigate the activities of the federal government over the last 4 years that are inconsistent with the purposes of and policies of this order, and prepare a report to be submitted by the President through the Deputy Chief of Staff for policy, with recommendations for appropriate remedial actions to be taken based on the findings of the report. So that's pretty interesting. Another thing I'm not going to read at the end of all these, it basically just like, it's just like disclaimers that are repeated over and over. It just talks about, like, I'll read this one. General provisions, nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect, and then it just lists it in like all of them. The authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof. It's said in like all the executive orders. But this one's very interesting. So it's basically calling upon the appropriate authorities to investigate all the departments in the past 4 years and see who was censoring speech and how they were doing so, and taking appropriate remedial actions to be taken based on the findings of the report. So whatever they find, they will act accordingly. So definitely really interesting. I look forward to seeing what comes of this, but who knows, because when people investigate themselves, they often don't find anything wrong. So we'll see. But it is a new administration investigating an old administration, so maybe they'll actually find something, but I don't want them to just, make up stuff. We don't want them to just go find things that aren't there. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. Another one I would like to highlight is the withdrawing the United States from the World Health Organization. Another interesting executive order by the authority vested in me as president. Let's see. Section 1, purpose. The United States noticed its withdrawal from the World Health Organization in 2020 due to the organization's mishandling of COVID-19 pandemic that rose out of Wuhan, China, and other global health crises. Its failure to adopt urgently needed reforms and its inability to demonstrate independence from the inappropriate political influence of WHO member states. In addition, the WHO continues to demand unfairly Runros. I've actually never seen that word. Erroneous, I'm assuming, is what it's supposed to be. Erroneous payments from the United States, far out of proportion with other countries' assessed payments. China, with a population of 1.4 billion, has 300% of the population of the has 300% of the population of the United States. Oh, okay, I see what it's saying. It's saying it has 3 times the population of the United States, yet contributes nearly 90% less than we do to the World Health Organization. Oh, that's pretty ridiculous. So they have like 15% of the world's population, 15% of the world's population, but we pay 90% more than them. That doesn't really make sense. Section 2. The United States intends to withdraw from the World Health Organization. The presidential letter to the Secretary General of the United Nations, signed on January 28, 2021, that retracted the United States July 6, 2020 notification of withdrawal is revoked. So when President Biden entered office, he re-entered the World Health Organization, is what that's saying, and they are now revoking that rejoin. So Executive Order 13987 of January 25th, 2021, organizing and mobilizing the United States government to provide a unified and effective response to combat COVID-19 and to provide United States leadership on global health and security is also revoked. The Assistant to the President of National Security Affairs shall establish directorates and coordinating mechanisms within the National Security Council apparatus as he deems necessary and appropriate to safeguard public health and fortify biosecurity. Excuse me. The Secretary of State and the Director of Office of Management and Budget shall take appropriate measures with all I can't say that right now. Practicable speed. I don't know why I couldn't say that. Pause the future transfer of any United States government funds, support, or resources to the WHO, so we're not going to send them any more money. Recall and reassign United States government personnel or contractors working in any capacity with the WHO, and identify credible and transparent United States and international partners to assume necessary activities previously undertaken by the World Health Organization. Let me read that again. Identify credible and transparent United States and international partners to assume necessary activities previously undertaken by the World Health Organization. I don't exactly know what they mean by that. Interesting. So the director of the White House Office of Pandemic Preparedness and Response Policy shall review, rescind, and replace the 2024 U.S. Global Health Security Strategy as soon as practicable. Notification: the Secretary of State shall immediately inform the Secretary General of the United Nations and other applicable depository and the leadership of the WHO of the withdrawal. So it's basically just saying that they need to notify the World Health Organization that we are withdrawing and we're not sending them any more money, basically. And yeah, that's it for this executive order. So he's taking us out of the World Health Organization. Overall, I think that's a great idea. The World Health Organization doesn't really do anything good for this country. We're just giving them free money, really, and they're trying to boss us around when we were actually doing things a lot better than they were. So here's the next one: putting America first in international environmental agreements. So this is just outlining that we are again leaving the Paris Climate Accord. I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. That's basically all it is. We're leaving the Paris Climate Accord, which again, we left it before Biden rejoined it. All it does is we pay money into the Paris Climate Accord, and we also have to follow a bunch of different guidelines for climate change and stuff like that, which hinders our economic ability to grow, which I'm all for. We need to get out of that. The United States, over the past, years with technological advancements and stuff like that, we are only getting more and more climate friendly, you could say. So if we're hindering ourselves in that process, then we're stifling growth and stifling technology. So we don't need to be in it. We're already working towards a path of having cleaner energy. We don't need to be in the Paris Climate Agreement that hinders our ability to grow. Next one: putting people over fish. I like this one. Putting people over fish, stopping radical environmentalism to provide water to Southern California. As a Californian, I definitely appreciate this one. So let's go into this one. So let me scroll down here. I don't know why the opening looks different than the other ones, but it says here, I hereby direct the Secretary of Commerce and the Secretary of the Interior, in consultation with the heads of other departments and agencies of the United States, as necessary, to immediately restart the work from my first administration by the National Marine Fisheries Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Bureau of Reclamation, and other agencies to route more water from the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta to other parts of the state for use by the people there who desperately need a reliable water source. So if you don't know, the Joaquin Delta, the Joaquin Delta, right now it's a river that comes from Northern California that could be flowing down towards the southern parts of California, at least closer to LA and stuff like that. And we can be using it for water reservoirs and all kinds of things. And we have not been doing that because they're worried about some fish or something like that, the Delta smelt. I don't care about a fish. If we had access to that water, maybe the fires wouldn't have been so bad. But no, instead of saying screw the fish and helping actual humans, we decided to just let all that water, all that fresh water flow out into the ocean. It's terrible. So, yeah, I think this is a great idea. During my first term, the state of California, at the direction of its governor, Gavin Newsom, filed a lawsuit to stop my administration from implementing improvements to California's water infrastructure. My administration's plan would have allowed enormous amounts of water to flow from the snow melt and rainwater in rivers of Northern California to beneficial use in the Central Valley and Southern California. This catastrophic halt was allegedly in protection of the Delta smelt and other species of fish. Today, the enormous water supply flows wastefully into the Pacific Ocean. The recent deadly and historic destructive wildfires in Southern California underscore why the state of California needs a reliable water supply and sound vegetation management practices in order to provide water desperately needed there, and why this plan must immediately be re-implemented. Within 90 days of the date of this memorandum, the Secretary of Commerce and Secretary of the Interior shall report to me regarding the progress made in implementing the policies in this memorandum and provide any recommendations regarding future implementation. So hopefully we see something come of this, but California likes to go against Donald Trump, so we'll see if anything actually happens with this. But I think it's a great idea. Why are we having fresh water that could be sent down to the lower parts of California? Why are we letting that just flow out into the ocean when we could be giving it down to the people who need it? California is constantly in a drought. We need more water. So I don't really care about a fish. If you're worried about the fish going extinct or something like that, then like go, take a bunch of them and go put them in a fishery or something like that. Like we don't need to be prioritizing fish over people. That's just that's stupid. I don't care about the fish. Really good one here: protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship. Now this one is being hotly debated because it's quite controversial. So let's get into it here. Section 1, purpose. The privilege of the United States citizenship is a priceless and profound gift. The 14th Amendment states, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. That provision rightly repudiated the Supreme Court of the United States' shameful decision in Dred Scott v. Stanford, 60 U.S. 19 how? Okay, a bunch of numbers and stuff I don't understand, but that was in 1857. This misinterpreted the Constitution as permanently excluding people of African descent from eligibility for United States citizenship solely based on their race. So, but the 14th Amendment has never been interpreted to extend citizenship universally to everyone born within the United States. The 14th Amendment has always excluded from birthright citizenship persons who were born in the United States but not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Consistent with this understanding, the Congress has further specified through legislation that a person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a national and a citizen of the United States at birth, generally mirroring the 14th Amendment. So, among the categories of individuals born in the United States and not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, the privilege of the United States citizenship does not automatically extend to persons born in the United States when that person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. When that person's mother's present in the United States at the time of said person's birth was lawful but temporary, such as, but not limited to, visiting the United States under the auspicious, okay, I actually don't know how to say that word, of the visa waiver program, or visiting on a student, work, or tourist visa. And the father of the United States father was not a United States citizen, or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. So what that's saying there is you yourself have to be a citizen, your parents have to be a citizen for you to also be considered a citizen at birth. They don't get to come here and, pop a baby out and that baby gets citizenship anymore. They don't get to be here on a visa, a work visa, school visa, whatever, tourist visa. They don't get to come here, get pregnant and pop a baby out and it gets citizenship. That is over. And I am so glad that that's over. I don't care what anyone else says. We were one of the few countries on this planet that did that. And now it is over. It's beginning in 30 days from this order, is what it says here at the bottom. It says 30 days after the date of this order, it shall go into effect. So starting next month, people that aren't citizens having babies here, your kids aren't citizens either, which is how it should have been. We should have never been giving them citizenship. It doesn't make any sense. It just incentivizes people to travel here while they're pregnant or get pregnant here while they're here illegally. Also, not to mention, China loves that we had that. I mean, they were sending people to California just to have babies so they could get dual citizenship. So we're just letting other people that aren't from this country take advantage of that system, and with this executive order that has been rescinded. I completely agree, and I know a lot of people are upset about that. I don't really care because, if I travel to Italy or, Switzerland, Norway, whatever, if I get pregnant, or if I get someone pregnant, I can't get pregnant, I'm a guy. If I get someone pregnant, then they have the kid there. That kid doesn't get citizenship unless the mother is also a citizen. And that's how it should be. I don't get to just go to another country and then my offspring automatically becomes a citizen of that country. That doesn't make any sense. That would just incentivize people traveling there illegally. Because then your kid can, get citizenship, and then the government has a whole conundrum about what they have to do to deport you, which I'm all for deporting families. I think kids that aren't able to take care of themselves but are American citizens due to their parents traveling here illegally and having them, they should be sent back with their illegal parents. Because I certainly don't want American children being put in the foster system unnecessarily. Unless for some whatever reason, the parents are abusive or something, like some situation like that, then sure, we can, put them in foster care and let them stay here. But if their parents are loving parents that came here illegally, send them back with their parents. It's that simple. We don't need to be separating families. It is the policy of the United States that no department of agency or the United States government shall issue documentation recognizing the United States citizenship or accept documents issued by the state, local, or other governments or authorities purporting to recognize the United States citizenship to persons when that person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the person's father was not. Oh, wait, did I already read that? Wait, no, I didn't read this. Was not in the United States or a lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth, or when the person's mother's presence in the United States was lawful but temporary, and the person's father was not in the United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. So one of your parents need to be a citizen, in the least. At least one of your parents need to be a citizen for you to be considered a citizen, which is exactly how it should be. And then again, it just goes over, it actually does outline what mother and father mean, which is something I did want to highlight. So it has the definition of mother. Mother means the immediate female biological progenitor. Father means the immediate male biological progenitor. So that is important because one of these other orders, which one is it? Let me find it. Nope, not that one. It is, did I do it at the end? I did do it at the end. Let's move it over here. Okay, okay, so that's one I just did. So defending women from gender ideology, extremism, and restoring biological truth to the federal government. So another one I really like. I saved the one of the best for last because I'll have a lot to say about that one. How long is this video going so far? Ooh, we're already at 26 minutes. All right, keep on going. By the authority vested in me as president, purpose across the country, ideologues who deny the biological reality of sex have increasingly used legal and socially coercive means to permit men to self-identify as women and gain access to intimate single-sex spaces and activities designed for women, from women's domestic abuse shelters to women's workplace showers. This is wrong. Efforts to eradicate the biological reality of sex fundamentally attack women by depriving them of their dignity, safety, and well-being. The erasure of sex and language and policy has a corrosive impact not just on women, but on the validity of the entire American system. Basing federal policy on truth is critical to scientific inquiry, public safety, morale, and trust in government itself. The unhealthy road is paved by an ongoing and purposeful attack against the ordinary and long-standing use and understanding of biological and scientific terms, replacing the immutable biological reality of sex with an internal, fluid, subjective sense of self, unmoored from biological facts, invalidating the truth and biological category of women, and properly transforms laws and policies designed to protect sex-based opportunities into laws and policies that undermine them, replacing long-standing cherished legal rights and values with an identity-based inchoate social concept. I don't think I said that right. Inchoate? I actually don't know what that word means, but I agree with everything else that was said there. Accordingly, my administration will defend women's rights and protect freedom of conscience by using clear and accurate language and policies that recognize women are biological female and men are biologically male. Which is great. Absolutely outstanding. Policy and definitions. It is the policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, male and female. These sexes are not changeable and are grounded in fundamental and uncontrovertible reality. Under my direction, the executive branch will enforce all sex protective laws to promote this reality, and the following definitions shall govern all executive interpretations of and application of federal law and administration policy. Sex shall refer to an individual's immutable biological classifications as either male or female. Sex is not a synonym for those that and does not include the concept of gender identity. So I understand why he's separating the two here. I have always viewed sex and gender as two different things, but I suppose gender has evolved to separate from sex. While I don't agree with that, he is outlining that, yeah, sure, if you guys want it to be completely different, sure, go ahead. It is completely different. Gender identity has nothing to do with your sex. You're completely right. It also doesn't matter one bit. You know what does matter? Your sex, because it's an immutable characteristic. Women or woman and girls or girl shall mean adult and juvenile human females, respectively. Men or man and boys or boy shall mean adult and juvenile human males, respectively. Female means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces large reproductive cell. Male means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces small reproductive cell. So what people are pointing out in this section right here, notice how it says at conception. So that means this is a government executive order that outlines your life begins at conception. So I wonder how that'll turn out for abortion rights, because it is outright saying you are female and male at conception, not just at birth. It's saying at conception. So we'll see how that affects abortion laws in the future. Gender ideology replaces the biological category of sex with an ever-shifting concept of self-assessed gender identity, permitting the false claim that males can identify as and thus become women and vice versa, and requiring all institutions of society to regard this false claim as true. Gender ideology includes the idea that there is a vast spectrum of genders that are disconnected from one's sex. Gender ideology is an internally inconsistent in that it diminishes sex as an identifiable or useful category, but nevertheless maintains that it is possible for a person to be born in the wrong sexed body. Gender identity reflects a fully internal and subjective sense of self, disconnected from biological reality and sex, and existing on an infinite continuum that does not provide a meaningful basis for identification and cannot be recognized as a replacement of sex. Amen to that. That's amazing. Because that's exactly right. I don't even know how a trans activist could argue against that. It is not meaningful. It is not a meaningful basis for identification. It really isn't. If it's fluid and it can change based off your feeling, it is not a meaningful basis for identification. What is a meaningful basis for identification for medical purposes and for legal purposes is your sex. Your sex is something that is meaningful. It has meaning, not your gender identity. Your gender identity has just as much meaning as your personality, in my opinion, because in my opinion, they're the same thing. Section 3, recognizing women are biologically distinct from men. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Health and Human Services shall provide to the U.S. government, external partners, and the public clear guidance expanding on the sex-based definitions set forth in this order. Each agency and all federal employees shall enforce laws governing sex-based rights, protections, opportunities, and accommodations to protect men and women as biologically distinct sexes. Each agency should therefore give the terms sex, male, female, men, women, boys, and girls the meanings set forth in Section 2 of this order when interpreting or applying statutes, regulations, or guidance in all other official agency businesses, documents, and communications. When administering or enforcing sex-based distinctions, every agency and all federal employees acting in an official capacity on behalf of their agency shall use the term sex and not gender in all applicable federal policies and documents. The Secretaries of State and Homeland Security and the Director of the Office of Personnel Management shall implement changes to require that government-issued identification documents, including passports, visas, and global entry cards, accurately reflect the holder's sex, as defined under Section 2 of this order. And the Director of the Office of Personnel Management shall ensure that applicable personnel records accurately report federal employees' sex, as defined by Section 2 of this order. So basically, I'm not going to keep reading the whole thing. It is quite a bit to read. The video is getting long as is. But yeah, it just basically says that the federal government will now only be recognizing the two sexes, male and female, and it outlines exactly what those are. Great executive order, definitely something we needed. So this one, I'll just read the title of it: Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI Programs and Preferencing. So DEI, if you don't know what that is diversity, equity, inclusion. And instead of going off of your ability to work, they go based off your skin color. Or your disability or whatever that you have going on. They base it off of that instead of your actual ability to get the job done. And what this executive order does is remove programs like that. So great. This is great. We're bringing back merit to the workforce. We're bringing back, if you do good work, you get, moved up, you get hired. We should not be hiring people based on their race. That's outright racist. And it doesn't need to be a thing. Next, declaring a national emergency at the southern border of the United States. Again, I'm just going to read the title. Video's already going on quite long. Like I said, I will link everything down below. I'm not going to link each individual executive order. I will link the page where you can find them yourself, and you can search them up. But yeah, declaring a national emergency at the southern border of the United States. And then as well as protecting the United States from foreign terrorist and other national security and public safety threats. Let's see, by authority vested in me. Section 1, policy and purpose. It is the policy of the United States to protect its citizens from aliens who intend to commit terrorist attacks, threaten our national security, espouse hateful ideology, and otherwise exploit the immigration laws for malevolent purposes. So this is basically just, they're going to be enhancing vetting. They're going to be improving their vetting processes. They're going to be, cracking down on terrorists crossing the border, which if you haven't been keeping up with the news, which I haven't been making videos, so how would you know? You got to watch me to find out more about the news, right? Make sure you hit that subscribe button. But all joking aside, no, lots of terrorists have entered through the southern border under Joe Biden's leadership, and we have just outright just let them come in. We had the catch and release program where they would catch people, give them a court date, and be like, all right, see you in 3 months. If you commit a crime and they have no way to track you, what's the incentive to go to court? I don't get that at all. So this is just cracking down on people that are entering the country illegally who are affiliated with terrorist organizations and other national security threats, because we also have a lot of Chinese people coming across the border. That's also a national security threat, because we don't know who those people are. I will end it with my favorite executive order. Again, there are a lot of executive orders. I only went through a very few amount of them, so do forgive me. I can't sit and read all of them. If you do want me to, maybe I'll do a live stream or something, but so many. There's been so many. I missed so many. These are just ones I wanted to highlight. So designating cartels and other organizations as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorist. Awesome. This is an awesome executive order. I've been calling for this for years. Even before I got into politics, I'm only 23, about to be 24. I've been calling for this since I was in middle school. The cartels, why do we allow them to exist at all? We are the strongest government. We are the strongest country in the world. Why is it that we allow our neighbors to be terrorized and taken over by absolutely disgusting cartels? The things they do to people are absolutely abhorrent. I cannot say words strong enough to convey how disgusting these individuals are and how much they hurt our country as a whole. You can blame them for the drug problems that we have in this country. They are the largest, by far, contributors to the drug issues in this country. Not to mention all the other crimes they commit while they're here, like human trafficking. Section 1, purpose. This order creates a process by which uncertain international cartels, the cartels, and other organizations will be designated as foreign terrorist organizations, consistent with Section 219 of the NIA 8 USC 1189, or specially designated global terrorists consistent with IEEPA 50 USC 1702 and Executive Order 13224 of September 23rd, 2001, blocking property and prohibiting transactions with persons who commit, threaten to commit, or support terrorism. As amended, international cartels constitute a national security threat beyond that posed by traditional organized crime, with activities encompassing convergence between themselves and a range of extra hemispheric actors, from designated foreign terror organizations to antagonistic foreign governments. What it's talking about there is the cartel outright works with other terrorist organizations already, arms dealing and stuff like that, drugs and whatever, human trafficking. Not only that, they also work with people like the Chinese government. The Chinese government loves to send fentanyl to the cartels, who then peddle it through the United States. And that's just one of many examples. So the cartel is a tool of our enemies and should be treated as such. Complex adaptive systems characteristic of entities engaged in insurgency and asymmetric warfare and infiltration into foreign governments across the Western Hemisphere. What it's talking about there is that it is buying government officials or just outright filling government official positions with cartel members, which is obviously a threat to any country's national security. The cartels have engaged in a campaign of violence and terror throughout the Western Hemisphere, and that has not only destabilized countries with significant importance for our national interest, but also flooded the United States with deadly drugs, violent criminals, and vicious gangs. All of that is completely true. The cartels functionally control through a campaign of assassination, terror. I can't say that word on YouTube because I don't want the video downranked, but I highlighted it. And brute force nearly all illegal traffic across the southern border of the United States. In certain portions of Mexico, they function as a quasi-governmental entity controlling nearly all aspects of society. Yeah, they outright control sections of the government in Mexico. They control entire towns and cities in Mexico. They are, like this executive order says, quasi-governmental entities at this point. They have grown so much in power. The United States has allowed them to grow so much to the point they are literally taking over the Mexican government. How long do we have to wait before, we actually take a stand against them? I'm glad to see this executive order. Maybe now we can actually start sending in, I'm all for sending in the military to deal with these people, because we have, the issues in Israel and Palestine. We have Taiwan. We have Ukraine and Russia. I don't care about any of that. I could not care less about any of that. If the military industrial complex wants a war, why don't you go focus on what's south of the border? Why don't you go focus on that? I would be all for that. I wouldn't care at all about that. You go blow up some cartel members, I'd be cheering you on. I'm all for it, because they actually affect the United States. I don't care what's going on in Palestine and Israel. I don't care what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I do care a little bit about Taiwan because they make a lot of our semiconductors, but we need to work on making that here. If we can start making semiconductors here, then I don't care about Taiwan after that. But overall, I really don't care about Taiwan. Ultimately, the only reason I have some care for them is, like I said, the semiconductors. But no, we are directly affected by what goes on in Mexico and the cartels there. So I would be all for military action, which looks like we are about to get. So I'm all for it. Let's see. So other transnational organizations such as Tren de Agua and MS-13 pose similar threats to the United States. Their campaigns of violence and terror in the United States and internationally are extraordinarily violent, vicious, and similarly threaten the stability of international order in the Western Hemisphere. The cartels and other transnational organizations such as Tren de Agua and MS-13 operate both within and outside the United States. They present an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with those threats. Excuse me. So yeah, he's outright saying that we will be dealing with those threats. And like I said, I'm all for military action. Policy: it is the United States policy to ensure the total elimination of these organizations present in the United States and their ability to threaten the territory, safety, and security of the United States through their extraterritorial command and control structures, thereby protecting the American people and the territorial integrity of the United States. Implementation: within 14 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of State shall take all appropriate action in consultation with the Secretary of the Treasury, the Attorney General, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and the Director of National Intelligence to make recommendations regarding the designation of any cartel or other organizations described. So within 14 days of the executive order, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all appropriate actions in consultation with the Secretary of State to make operational preparations regarding the implementation of any decision I make to invoke the Alien Enemies Act in retaliation to the existence of any qualifying invasion or predatory incursion against the territory of the United States by a qualifying actor, and to prepare such facilities as necessary to expedite the removal of those who may be designated under the order. So it outright is saying that they're going to do an investigation into what needs to be done and then carry out removal of those organizations. So that is just some of the executive orders. As you can see, the video has gone on for about 45 minutes now. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for tuning in. If there are some executive orders you want me to give my thoughts on, leave it down in the comments down below. I'll pull it up in a video. Maybe I'll do another one of these videos. I will likely have to, with how many executive orders Trump is actually signing. But with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for staying all the way to the end. And I appreciate each and every one of you that watches this. Thank you so much. make sure you hit that subscribe button, and please like and share the video. Let people know what's going on with the news and what's going on with these executive orders. Thank you again. Peace out.